Hello everyone, I am Jeremy Brendle of Brendle Concepts, and I am here today with our good friends Kelley and Bart. We are going to show you guys how to fiberglass. The number one question I get pertaining to how to make custom car parts, custom motorcycle parts is, how do you do fiberglass? So what I decided was to show you guys step by step some of the processes I use. Kelley and Bart are going to demonstrate. We're going to start off step by step. First off with the chemicals. What we have is a general use fiberglass resin with an extended work time catalyst. I like using the extended work time work catalyst just because it gives us a little bit more time to apply the resin to the fiberglass, especially on a big panel or a bigger job. It makes it a lot easier. So now that we have this, we kind of have everything set up and ready to go just to kind of demonstrate it. We have our fiberglass mat pre-torn. We're going to be demonstrating how to fiberglass around paper cups. This is actually how I was taught. It's a good method, it's a good way to practice, it's a good way to learn. So from that, let's start pouring. We're going to do...
Hey, Chair, one thing I wanted to add. Thanks for having us. And I just wanted to make sure that you knew that this is the first time Kelley and I have ever done any of this. This is brand new to us. So we're absolutely looking forward to having a little bit of fun with learning something new.
Well, thank you, appreciate it. And yes, this is our first time. This is one of the reasons why we wanted to show everyone using people doing it the first time to prove that yes, you can do this in your backyard. Okay. Any other questions before?
I'm a little nervous, but my goal is not to be nervous at the end.
All right, so let's start off with the resin. So we're going to pour 2 ounces into our glass measuring cup over there.
Okay.
So whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first.
You better go first because I think he'll be a little slower.
2 ounces. Two ounces, perfect. There you go. And then I pour this in.
Pour that into that cup. Yep.
There you go, Kelley.
Thanks.
Should I wait for Kelley to do that first? Okay.
When you pour into your dump cup, let me add, it's important to get as much of the resin into the cup as possible. You want the mix ratio to be as close as the recommended specs as possible. So you want to use like a paint stick or a little bit of gravity just to let it pour out and drain over time.
Like that? There we go. Okay.
All right, you can pour that in there.
Alrighty.
You can just set that off onto the paper towel there. If it drips, it's fine. All right, next thing we're going to do is add our hardener or our catalyst. Like I said, this is extended work time. They say this is good for 30 minutes. I find it more like 20, 25. Regular work time is generally about 15. That's a little generous on that as well. If you really are looking for working for an extended period of time, when you buy your product, make sure you ask for an extended work time catalyst. So we're going to add our 1.2 cc's. So I'll let you guys go first.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
No, go ahead.
One 1.2,
1.2.
and then directly into the cup.
Directly into the cup.
Give it a little push just for fun.
Someone's been a nurse.
That's kind of true. Dog nurse.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Next step, mix. Now this catalyst and most catalysts actually has a dye in it, just so you can see the color. You want to continue to mix until the catalyst is thoroughly mixed into the resin. You'll see the color actually change. This one's kind of a red, and in the general fiberglass resin that we're using, it'll turn kind of like a honey color when really thoroughly mixed and uniform when you pull your mixing stick out of the cup.
Okay. Want to look at it and see?
A little more.
How's this one look there?
Perfect.
Here? That was perfect.
Yeah,
Mine is
perfect.
What?
Okay.
I can't hear anything.
Kelly, can you hand me that paint lid?
Yep.
This stuff is extremely sticky, in case you didn't know, so I like to place things on surfaces that do not matter if they get any of the resin on it, or anything that could potentially drip, land on your garage floor or in your yard or wherever you're doing this. Just try and keep things clean and tidy.
Yep.
All right. Choose your cups.
Oh. Well, this one, of course. It's a little longer. I don't have to be as.
Okay. Okay, so you can pull your fiberglass out. So what we're using today is just your basic chopped strand mat. They call it chopped strand because it has these tiny little strands of fiberglass that are actually bonded together with basically a spray glue. The resin and the catalyst combined, when it's applied to the fiberglass cloth, will break down that glue and allow this to saturate and actually form to whatever part you're trying to make. So to break this down from both sides at the same time, we're going to apply a little bit of our resin to our practice cup, and then we'll actually apply the cloth directly over the cup. So go ahead and take your paintbrush.
Okay.
So is this like really glass?
It is basically shards of grinded glass and other materials that they use to make these strands. That's why.
But it's not prickly like that old
No.
style.
Well, when you actually sand this stuff, after it's hard, it's very itchy.
Oh.
The little micro shards will get under your skin, and it is very uncomfortable.
Okay, good to know. So now just put some onto the cup.
Yep,
Just like a thin coat, or is
a
it?
thin coat, that's all you're looking for. Just evenly spread it out. Now what this will do is, just like I said, it'll add a tacky layer. It will help break down the glue from the backside as well, so we can apply our mat and have it stay right where we want it to as we're actually applying the resin.
So it's kind of like paint.
A little bit, kind of arts and crafts.
I guess it doesn't have to be perfect, huh?
Nope, you're just going to keep applying resin anyway.
How's that look?
Perfect. Kelly, you're going to have sticky fingers.
I know. I was thinking that. Okay, so just keep my hand
There
in
you
there.
go.
Got it. And is it okay, like then just to stick the brush back in here?
You can. As long as there's enough weight, enough resin in it, otherwise it won't.
Okay.
Yep, next step, we're going to take our mat and we're going to apply it to our cup.
Is there a front and the back to this, or no?
Well, even if there is, you can put it on, and if you don't like it, you can still peel it off and reapply it.
So it doesn't matter which?
Nope, no,
okay.
you can just put it on there and see how it lines up.
Okay, all right.
Looks good to me.
How's that? A little higher on the top, maybe?
I would take this off maybe and flip it around,
Okay.
just so that it lays flat on the cup the whole way around.
Oh, I see. Oh, so sometimes just take it off and starting over gives you what you need.
Exactly. There, like that?
Oh, yeah, I see the difference.
Yep. So how it lays nice and flat like
Yep,
that?
yep,
No seam. There we go.
okay.
So,
So now we
like-
just want to start applying our resin to the fiberglass.
so with this like overlapping, will we see that seam?
No, when we tear, we want to tear our mat wherever there's an overlapping surface. The strands that are individual, when you tear an edge, will actually create basically an invisible seam. If you would actually cut your mat and make a really clean, precise cut, you will see those really precise fibers cut within the fiberglass itself. So whenever you're joining from panel to panel, or from, I should say, piece to piece, you want to make sure that you're tearing your cloth so that it creates a nice uniform look.
Okey-doke.
Is there a trick to applying this?
It's an equal parts of brushing and actually they call it stippling or dabbing. So the point is to get as much of the fiberglass resin into the material as possible. You want to minimize the amount of air pockets that you see. So you want to be consistently adding more and more resin to get rid of any kind of air. Also, as the resin is breaking down the fiberglass glue, you're going to be able to start maneuvering those individual strands to spread out the fiberglass as well and make it more uniform across the top surface.
So do I wanna do this like in sections, or like do the whole thing and then like?
I prefer to do everything in one coat and then go back through the entire process again and add more to really minimize the air pockets. On a bigger project, you'll have different curing times because if you can't mix enough resin in one shot, you're gonna end up having to mix another batch, and you will have one part of like your mat that's starting to dry and another that you haven't even applied to yet.
Oh.
So there's one of those big air bubbles you're talking about.
Yep. So with that, all you want to do is add a little bit more of your resin to it.
Does that help it lay down?
Yeah.
Oh,
It'll help relax it. So you're pulling right now.
okay.
So what you want to do is actually start working around the cup. And you can use the end of the brush to actually start pushing. There you go.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah, I see. Rather than just pushing the air from one spot to another.
You're actually trying to penetrate and get that liquid through the mat.
So can you like put too much of this on? Like,
Yeah,
is
if you
there,
overload it, then the actual fiberglass mat will become really slippery. And if you have it sitting on like a vertical surface, it'll actually want to try and start sliding down. The trick really is to kind of create that tacky surface initially, and applying the mat. You want to apply the resin in such a way that it's enough to saturate it, but not enough to make it overly saturated. It's kind of a fine line, and it's a visual thing. You'll see all the little air bubbles
Yeah, I'm seeing
forming
a bunch,
underneath.
like, there's
Yep.
like a whole line there.
Yep.
So, do I just dab that?
Just keep working it.
And I'm looking to even out like where the fiberglass is. Like some places I see I have more fiberglass than
You can
other
take your brush
places.
and you can actually drag across the top of the surface, and that will help spread that out.
Mm.
Those fibers, as they become relaxed, are able to actually move, so you can really spread them out and cover an area if you need to.
So I have this one bubble that keeps coming back. Can you give me a hint here on that
Some of that's gravity. If you
oh.
keep turning your cup one way.
Oh, okay.
But you can start trying to work your cloth or your fiberglass in different directions to see if you can get that bubble to go away. Try adding a little bit more of your resin to it.
Yeah, I kind of had the same thing. But like you said, it's always at the place like.
So if you remember how you put your cloth on, you want to start pushing in the direction that you wrapped it. So if you have a little bit of extra material, you're going to have to start pushing it to actually make it tighter around the cup.
Oh yeah, now I'm starting to get it.
Yeah, as the resin starts to cure and become harder, it actually becomes tackier.
Oops.
Fumble.
Oopsie.
Now I've got plenty of resin on it.
There you go.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Then you can start to push.
Yep, and even that part here that actually kind of slid a little bit, you take your paintbrush and you can really pull it all back down.
Oh yeah, I see.
Yep. So it's really just a messy process. There's really, a lot of people stress about what do I use, how do I do it, the right way, the wrong way, and honestly, it's just a lot of really messy work. You get specification sheets from the manufacturer of how much hardener to add, and from there it's really kind of open to your interpretation as to how you're going to use it. There's so many applications for fiberglass, especially in like custom cars, custom motorcycles, trucks, boats, whatever. I mean, it's been used, for decades. So if you can learn how to do this, it's really a great tool to have. You can really make a lot of cool products with it. You can do your own repairs. It's lightweight, it's durable. The only hard part really is learning how to get past the initial learning curve of how to apply the actual product. And Bart dropping that cup was a great example of how versatile this product really is. It looked kind of like maybe he made a little bit of a mistake there, but he was able to manipulate it back into place. And like I said, with the extended cure time catalyst, he can now salvage what could have been a bad part.
Yeah, what's interesting, Jer, is when I dropped that, oh boy, I really messed it up now. But the more you work it, the more you learn, and I can feel how much I've learned already since doing it. And now it's just about exactly how you had told us that we should end up, and all the air's out. And I've moved all the fiberglass up, and I feel like if I did it over again, I'd do it even more with a little bit of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So that was great.
So
I'm glad I dropped it.
Yeah, me too. Actually, it was kind of great, so we could see it. Now, like if you see all these little light spots, that's where you either don't have enough resin, or that's where you don't have enough of the fiberglass
Oh,
mat.
I see. And you can.
Yep. So then you
Still
can also
push
add more resin to keep the air pockets down to a minimum. Yep, and just keep working around. Kelley, on the other hand, is being the quiet killer over there. Look at you.
I see I have some places where it's very thin in comparison to other places on the cup. Like you can see like here, I don't know if that's resin or if that's like the thickness, but here, like there's like kind of a spot that doesn't have.
See that little mound of fiberglass,
Right
kind
here.
of like tumbleweed over there by the can?
Here?
Nope, look to your left.
Oh, yeah.
See that? Grab that little ball.
Oh, okay.
Yep, sticky fingers works great. There you go.
Okay.
Now take your brush. And then you just want to tamp it down. Get it to stick where you want it.
Oh, look at that. I was gonna ask if you could, like,
Layer it up.
yeah.
Yep. Yep. What we're actually using here today is a 2-ounce mat. It's really great for practice. It's great for forming. It's really pliable. A typical part, I will go anywhere from 6 to 8 ounces total in material thickness. So you can imagine, you know, laying up multiple layers to create your material thickness and strength. Our next step, if we were going to actually add another layer, is we would, you know, want to go through the part, make sure all the air bubbles are out, and then we would have another pre-torn layer of mat, and we would reapply using the same process that we've done already.
So you just do the same thing over again,
Correct.
essentially.
Yep. As long as this doesn't hit the stage where it's green or like starting to really get hard, you can continue to apply layer after layer.
Oh, so you can't let it harden.
You
And
can, you just have to prep differently than to apply another layer. That would involve a lot of sanding, cleaning, and then applying another layer. But you have a lot of curing time that's involved in that. It's, you know, when you're making this stuff, you really want to get every layer in one shot.
Okay.
So that when these layers of resin cure, it cures as one continuous layer of resin and not several layers of resin built up over time.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's just for strength.
So as a beginner, how do I know like when I'm finished?
So your ultimate goal here is you're looking for the surface to be uniform and smooth, as far as like not seeing any mounds of fiberglass. You're looking for air bubbles. If you see any air bubbles underneath the surface, you want to make sure you get out all your air bubbles. Once you hit that point where you're happy with the way the surface looks and you don't see any air bubbles, you can actually set your part aside and let it cure.
Or start the second process.
Or start, yep. Now, if we were going to be adding another layer, if I see some very minor air bubbles, I might actually just let those go, because as you're applying more resin for the second layer, it's going to absorb even more of that resin and fill in even more. So you don't have to be as critical, but you definitely want to make sure that you're getting out as much as you possibly can before you're adding another layer.
And then what about like these that are hanging over the edge?
Don't worry about those. If we were actually going to pull these off for parts, we would probably sit them on a nail or something just so it could cure without those strands being bothered. And then once it would harden, we would just come back and trim them off.
So this has like a lip along the cup, and I'm getting like lifting. Does that mean I don't have enough resin, or
No,
it's just going to do that?
You're always going to have a hard time getting to fill a void like that.
Okay.
One of the big things you can do is add a lot of resin to it. Sometimes you have to sit in an area and kind of babysit it. So let's just say that this was going to be a part we wanted to use. I would sit there with one of my rolling tools and kind of babysit that edge and keep rolling around that edge, and applying resin and letting it cure slowly, so that as it's curing, I'm maintaining that kind of recessed lip. Otherwise, if you let it go, it's just air's gonna seep in, it's gonna expand, and you know, you're gonna get that lifting like you're seeing.
Well, I think we're getting pretty close.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you guys are really good.
Interesting how you learn to manipulate it.
Yeah,
as you just, the more you do it.
Yeah, it's really a matter of trial and error. Like I said, a lot of people get really afraid of it. There's really nothing to be dangerous about it. You know, we're outside right now. We're not wearing respirators because obviously it's ventilated, but this stuff is very strong in smell. You know, if you were going to be doing this in your garage, you'd want to be wearing a respirator, especially if you're sanding. I wear a respirator consistently when I use this, whether I'm doing layup procedures like this or if I'm actually sanding. Those, you know, minute particles that you inhale when you're sanding are really horrible for your lungs. You want to take all the precautions you can to be safe, because you know this stuff's about having fun and enjoying it, and you know we want to stay around and do this for a long time.
So I can feel like certain areas on here getting a little tacky, but the cup is not. So when you say that is like an extended, this I'm seeing will get tackier quicker than the solution you have in the cup. Is that accurate? Or?
Well, it cures by the air and everything else going on. So it's a chemical reaction within the cup. I can see in Bart's it's starting to gel just on the surface now. You know, really the work surface that you have there is going to dry quicker than what you're going to see in the cup.
Okay.
The biggest challenge sometimes could be that as you get to the end of the work life of your fiberglass resin, you're trying to wipe your brush, and you have all this tacky resin on the side, and it wants to, you know, either dump on you or your paintbrush wants to drag. It can be a real pain in the butt when you're in a hurry.
Okay, good to know.
Kelly's like Miss Perfection over there. Look at that. Wow.
Let's compare. What do you think?
I think they both look great. I think
They
had a
do.
great teacher.
Yes, absolutely. So does that really mean mine's better?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Well, from here, you're basically going to let your parts sit, let it dry, and pick it up, you know, pretty much a day from now. Hopefully you like this video. Hope you learned something today. I want to thank you, Kelley and Bart, for being our guinea pigs and our demonstrators today.
This was awesome.
Glad
I
you had
really
fun.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it was always fun learning something new, and you kind of dispelled some of the nervousness and really got done what we started out to do.
Great.
Great.
So we're probably going to use you again for more guinea pig work in the future.
All right. Awesome.
Keep checking back. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.